energy and take it to the streets radio. So I am beyond thrilled and excited to introduce to all my listeners and followers. I can now say my friend, someone who I've been loving his music for so long, the icon, the one and only Freedom Williams of CNC Music Factory. Yay! Woo! Yes. So, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here and to share your story and your journey and the importance of CNC Music Factory and its legacy. Yes, so now, Freedom, of course, you started out as a sound engineer. So can you talk to our listeners about just, how you came into the music game, what inspired you to evolve into being an engineer, and just, how you got started?
Well, I've been around since around 1978. And early hip hop. And I knew from the beginning that it was going to be it forever. I knew it physically. Even when I was in the go-go and I was going to school down in the South, and there were a lot of go-go artists, and they were like, "Oh, go-go rules" in the 80s. I was like, "Nah, hip hop is going to be it forever." So it was pretty clear to me. And I played trombone in second and third grade. I played the flute for a couple of years. Play a little guitar. I was messing around with the keyboard. As a producer, we tried different things, and then I have 10,000 records. And so, I knew that I wanted to be in entertainment. And when hip-hop came into being, this art form that we call DJing, break dancing, rapping, graffiti, culture, fashion, I knew that I would be a part of it. Because I was in New York City, I'm a 60s baby, so I was in New York City in the 80s. And, it was a different world. That was the golden age, period. You know what I mean?
It really was.
Yeah, I went to school with Jam Master Jay and Hollis Queens, Spider D, Sparky D, Davey D, Run DMC, all those Queens legends, South Jamaica Queens. I went to the same high school that Lloyd Banks went to, Russell Simmons went there, Ed Lover went there, I went there, Najee, the saxophone player, went there, Kelly Price, the singer, went there, all of my high schools.
Wow.
So, New York City is an enclave of culture, music, and art. I just happened to be right in the middle of that, so I knew what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. So now, it must have just at that time, like you said, being around so many creative people who wound up being groundbreakers like yourself in the whole hip hop and dance genre. So it must have just been a magical, creative, collaborative time.
It was. I was very fortunate to grow up, in New York City at that time. I lived in Queens, like I said, which is the home of so many. And I was born in Bed-Stuy, and I live in Bed-Stuy, Brownsville now. Bed-Stuy is the home of Big Daddy Kane, and Queens is the home of the Cool G Rap, and Bed-Stuy is the home of Biggie, and Queens is the home of LL Cool J. So, and LL Cool J is also part of my history in terms of farmers. I grew up on Farmers Boulevard, Merritt Boulevard. So, then being born in Bed-Stuy, which is, Lawrence Fishburne, Spike Lee, Rosie Perez, Jay-Z, so it's just, I don't take it for granted. I use it to my advantage.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we had lunch together right down the street from Biggie Smalls' house.
That's true. I forgot about that. You sure did.
Yes. So, really, you could just feel the energy and the history in the air. So for anyone who's a music lover, you definitely have to take the time to visit Brooklyn sometime in your life. So now, share with us. Some people are on different sides of the spectrum. So, especially with all the things that have been going on the past couple of years, politics-wise and everything, you've had a lot of artists, actors, actresses, musicians really stepping up in a artistic, political standpoint. Some argue, well, you're not a politician, you're not a this, be quiet, kind of thing. But then other people like myself feel, well, artists and musicians are really the curators of history and culture and the storytellers. So do you feel that artists and musicians have a responsibility to reflect and positively impact what is going on in culture?
I would almost place money on the table in Vegas and tell them if you give me 10 dudes from the hood, 10 artists, 10 creators, myself, let's say myself, Deborah Harry, Denzel Washington. No, let me say myself. Okay, we'll say myself, Denzel Washington, Deborah Harry, Susan Sarandon, Spike Lee, RuPaul.
Mm-hmm.
You give me Barbara Streisand. You give me Ben Vereen. You give me Jay-Z, and you give me Monica. And we guarantee you we can do a better job than your 10 best politicians. And I just took 10 names randomly out of a hat. I guarantee you that. Because we're of the people, for the people, because of the people. We're connected to the culture and the musicality of movement and rhythm. Politicians go to school, most of them are entitled, most of them are elitist. You can hear how they talk. The Department of the DHS secretary was speaking the other day about the children that they kidnapped from the parents, from coming from El Salvador and Honduras. And I swear to God, he was so out of touch with reality, it was embarrassing. I mean, he was just out. He was like, well, when we take the children, what we do is we make sure they have 3 meals a day, and we make sure that there's someone there to talk to them, and we make sure that they're getting exercise. I'm like, are you insane?
Right.
Like, some of those children, I'm telling you right now, God forbid, I'm never going to see their parents again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you. We already know that there's some of them they probably lost and left on a corner somewhere.
Exactly.
So when people say musicians should stay in their lane, I mean, that's the most ridiculous. I mean, musicians make the best social change agents.
Exactly.
So, give me Bob Marley and give me Tupac, and I swear to God, I'll go up against any politician on planet Earth.
And, music inspires all people, including politicians, if they actually have a brain in their head and a pulse to what's going on around them, which this could be a whole other show. Nobody in the current administration does. Well, we don't have enough time to go into that. So now, talk to us. Okay, so you are an amazing producer, engineer, mixer. You're a wizard in the booth, as they say. So what is just for those people who don't know and who aren't from that world? So talk to us in a condensed way. Just what the process of creating beats, layering beats, and creating a song specifically like dance music.
Well, I mean, it's creative, so there's no one way to process it.
Mm-hmm.
People, you listen to the Bee Gees, they lived in a place called Florida.
Right.
In a city called Florida, a state called Florida. And in the town they lived in, there was a bridge that they used to go over every day. And this part of the road made a crickety sound, the bridge. It was like click, click, when you drove your car. And I know because I've done this. When you drove your car over this bridge, and I've been over it, you can hear it. It's like the way the road is. It goes click, 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 click. And what they said in the interview was that a lot of their songs came from that rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
right?
You can
And
hear that. You can hear that in jive talking.
Right, there's a sound that this brings that sound is kids on their way to school stuck in their head. And so music comes from wherever it comes from. I can put one in the gumball machine and turn it and put a mic sample in. And I can turn that into a shaker. You understand what I'm saying? And I can take that sound when the gum drops out of the machine, sample it, and then shake it like so music, I've done that. I've sampled everything from bird sounds to weights in the gym to grunts in the gym, you know, and you make songs. So you know, it's a gift of the universe. So dance music is only different from hip hop in that it's faster.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference. Dance, you know, hip hop is 98. Hip hop is also fast too. There's some hip hop that's you know, big fast, but hip hop is also dance music. So some hip hop songs, you know, boom, 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 boom.
It's more bass.
You know, right. Eric B. and Rakim, he's the president mixed with Over Like a Fat Rat. You know, you dancing all day. I came through the door, said it before, you know, you bobbing your head, you know, fall on the floor. And so it's just inspired. I mean, it comes from everywhere. You know, children's laughter at the playground. I'm going to the playgrounds and I sample just laughter and chatter and put it on record. So, I mean, you know, it's music is everything.
And there's a lot of it that is just intangible and intrinsic, like much like when you're designing and you're just taking fabric and muslin and draping, and then before you know it, you create something beautiful that can be worn. Sound mixing in music is much like that. You're taking random parts and creating something in that creative, beautiful, tangible moment where it becomes something to consume and uplift. So now, speaking of fitness, so one of the things you are known for is your fitness. So talk to us a bit about what's your fitness regimen, and you know, when did it become an important part of your life?
My fitness regimen?
Yes.
Wow, well, not this month, that's for sure, because I'm definitely falling off the way.
All right, well, let's say back in the day.
You know, it's a lifestyle. It's not really, you know, it's the way you eat. You know, when I'm seriously training, I'm eating well. You know, it's the way you eat. It's the way you you know, the way you train, the way you do everything when you're in a fitness regimen. It's just, you know, you just eat properly. You know, if you can't, you know, go to the gym, you do your 100 push-ups. You know, it's a total lifestyle. The way you think as well. I mean, it's an all-inclusive, you know, carnival cruise trip. You know, you can't be going to the gym and be healthy and be evil and mean. Most people in the gym, some of them can be really, really, really ignorant, but you know, for the most part, it's a healthy lifestyle. And the best way to train is to include, you know, spiritual positive thoughts into the way you work out into your life, thinking about the water, the air, the trees, being, you know, recycling, being generous, you know, being balanced. And it's difficult to just be a bodybuilder or a trainer. You get most benefits from it when you have healthy relationships, when you know, when it's, babe, I don't want, instead of saying, babe, I got to go to the gym, you know, I'm not going to be able to go with you to so-and-so, and keep doing that every day. You can say, babe, I'm going to schedule my gym around what you need to do, so that when you need me, I'll be there. That it has to enhance your life. You know, they do say bodybuilders are selfish. I like bodybuilding because I don't need to ask anyone to train with me. That's what attracted me to weightlifting years ago. I don't need a partner. You know, you can play basketball by yourself, but eventually you need one-on-one. You know, you can't play tennis by yourself. You can practice hitting the ball. Bodybuilding is a sport where you can look at a bodybuilder and see they're a trainer. You can look at their physique. You know, you don't know what a baseball player is if you don't tell you he plays baseball. You know, you can see a big guy, you don't know he plays football unless he tells you. Bodybuilding and training, you wear it with you the way you walk.
Now, Freedom, one of our listeners just jumped in and said the best way to train is to play CNC Music Factory because it makes you move.
I wasn't going to say that. I
Yes,
Thank
yes. And to be specific, it makes you sweat till you bleed.
Right.
So now, our show is also about empowerment. So talk to our listeners, and I really, in this regard, see you as a role model. Well, in many regards, but in this lane here, where you gained the confidence and just comfort with self to at the height of the branding, and even now sometimes where you would do a lot of your marketing and your performing with no shirt on and just being smooth and aggressive and coming hard with your lyrics and just running around just totally open and free in yourself. That takes a lot of confidence, a lot of security in self. So where did that come from? And your journey to that point.
I grew up in New York. I saw success. I saw what it looked like amongst my peers.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up around a lot of confident guys. I grew up in the 80s. A lot of my friends were alpha males. A lot of my friends were socially conscious. They studied culture. I grew up around Islamic brothers. Islam and the Zulu Nation, Africa Bambaataa, and the Zen Nation in New York. So brothers had an extreme amount of confidence in self. Even living in the hood, it was like I'm a king. Remember early hip hop? Everybody used to wear the African symbol. Everybody used to, even Will Smith, had the African symbol. Even European rappers, white rappers back in the 80s would wear the African symbol. It was very Afrocentric. It was very powerful because remember, drum. That's what we call it, the boom bap. And so that boom bap gives you confidence. It's like a warrior sound. Native Americans had war music. Ancient Japanese had tribal music for rain, for war. And it was always boom, boom. The big drums. The ancient civilizations. When you go to war, you have a horn. War.
And the drums of war.
Right, the drums of war. So when you live in an area where your friends are making their own rhythm, you come outside the house. 15 years old, it's 12 o'clock on a Saturday, you walk around the corner to get a soda, you see your man, you say, yo, Daquan, I just made a beat upstairs, boom, 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 God, and you feel so good, you just made a war song. So if you're making a war song, your confidence is through the roof, right?
And it hypes you up.
It hypes you up. Remember, you got your own, they say every hero has his own theme song, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you got friends that are 12, 13, and 14, and they're making their own theme song, how could you lack confidence?
Right.
You know what I mean? That was the culture that we lived. Not everybody was doing that. Now, some kids wasn't into hip-hop. Some kids was more into school or science. But the kids of us that were into the hip-hop
were full force.
Yeah, it was full force. We were ready to rock.
So now talk to us about who of course you've influenced many a generation of MCs, but who were some of your influences, along the way?
MCs, I love Melly Mel, I love Rakim. Rakim to me is the GOAT. LL Cool J.
Ladies Love James.
Yeah, LL Cool J. Tito, Fearless War, which is the original kind of, I always tell Tito and Peso and them, that you were really the original Run DMC. Everybody wore leather suits back in the days. We all had on real dungaree suits with iron and crease in the front. We wore leather suits. That's why Run DMC would have a leather jacket. I got pictures of me in the 80s with a suit jacket, with sneakers, with some creased jeans. So we dress like that. So when you think of Tito and the Fearless Four, Tito is success is what I want, a hard time is what I get. Some said I'm not set, at least I get, but I'm willing to bet that I'll be the threat. And when you with me, girl, you won't forget, cause you beat receive it, the feeling I'm believing. See, that was Tito, and we talking about 1981. So those influences was just the swagger of, Melly Mel is, a child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. God smiling on you because he's proud of you, because only God knows the truth go through. That rhythm, that swagger, that cadence, LL Cool J is hard as hell. battle anybody. I don't care what you tell. I excel. They on fail. You know, that Run DMC, 2 years ago, a friend of mine asked me to say some MC rhymes. So I said this rhyme I'm about to say. You know, all of that is an influence because you can feel their personality. Now a lot of the artists are sounding the same, and they lost a lot of their swagger.
For sure.
You know, the swagger is gone. I don't know what it is, but you know, it is what it is.
Right. So that brings me to my next question. I've heard you talk in other interviews about the importance of mentoring, and that in hip hop right now there isn't enough mentoring going on. So, you know, talk to us a bit why you feel it's so important to have mentoring in the hip hop genre, and just the importance of having all the current MCs knowing the history.
Yeah, it's really important because you know, we were very blessed that we were the first, second generation. So we had to study, you know, Sun Ra, Billy Cobham, Billy Eckstein Trio. We had to study the Commodores. We had to study Grand Central Station, Average White Band, you know, the Platters. You know, we had to study, you know, songs by Arthur Prysock, you know, Ricky, you know, Desi Arnaz. You know, we listen to Desi Arnaz records. We listen to different music. We listen to classical. We listen to Tchaikovsky. You know, I got 10,000 records, so studying that gives you a mentorship. We had to go to the record store and look through the records. Now these kids have iPods, so they don't have to get dirty.
Right.
They don't have to listen to music. Somebody gives them a hard drive.
It's spoon-fed.
Song, and this is your playlist. We had to go find. We used to put labels on top of the records so the DJs watching the other DJs wouldn't know where they got that record from. So they would like that beat. So we would cover the middle of the black record with a blank piece of paper or scrape it out with a marker. So when I'm DJing, that was a DJ in the 80s, you wouldn't know what I'm DJing. It's something that I found. So from that, you know, excavation and from the anthropological approach to finding records, you get a mentorship. You get a respect because you might be listening to Arthur Prysock or Johnny Mathis, and I mean, you might go the way the drum drops in with the horns. And that could be a jazz record. And so you go, wow, let me sample that and cut it up. We had to, but while we're doing that, we're learning this person's whole catalog. So we're becoming not just musicians, but musicologists. No other genre of music ever, whether you were a jazz musician, a rock and roll musician, an R&B musician, had to study music like hip-hop. Grandmaster Caz from the Cobra said that hip-hop didn't invent anything. What we did was we reinvented everything.
And of course, hip-hop started out as a spoken word genre and storytelling.
Right. So there's your mentorship. That's where your mentorship begins. A lot of the kids don't know. I have a young kid right now, I mentor. He's dope. He's a musician, but I'm teaching him construction. His name is Swag. You know, he lives in New York, and he's got a, parent with his girlfriend. He's only 27, so he struggles. You know, he's trying to figure it out. He's trying to find his way. Sometimes he's homeless. He just checked into the shelter. You know, and I mentored him. I said, listen, let your baby mama, your girlfriend and her daughter stay with the mom, her mom, and you don't take them to the shelter. You know, you leave them. I said, because I had a kid when I was 18. By the time I was 25, my son was 5. This one was only 2. I said, so I left my son with his mom and his grandma, and I focused on the music. I said, and I was homeless. I said, there's no way I would have been able to make music and worry about my 3-year-old son homeless. It would have never happened. So I mentored him, but he also doesn't know a lot about music. Like, he doesn't, I sing songs, he never heard of them. Now, the kid is talented, right? Dope. He's got the new trap style, the way they sing, you know, and when they do their thing, but he doesn't have the musical history. So I think he doesn't understand how to work his way through the struggle. Because the music, listening to other music, teaches you how to work your way through struggle. That's what Prince did. That's what Michael Jackson did for us.
Right.
So they're missing that connection to other art forms. It's stagnant. There's stagnancy there.
Now, see, Freedom, I feel like we're symbiotic right now because literally, and everything. It's like leading to the next thing I want to ask you. So we're playing beautiful rhythm right now.
Of course.
So now, you mentioned your spirituality and your fitness and lifestyle choices that kind of help you stay grounded. But during the struggles and ups and downs and pitfalls that many artists and anyone really in the world of entertainment, right, or going after a dream, has to deal with. What are your foundation things that keep you positive, keep you from giving up, and keep you focused and moving forward?
Maya Angelou was a real good study. Maya Angelou said, and I read her book. Her book from I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing is a 3-part series. Now, Maya Angelou was a poet, obviously. She was a musician. She was a playwright. She was a single parent. She was a doctor. She was a lecturer. She was a drawer, an artist. She was also a prostitute. Right? So, watch people. You have to be a quick study. If you're not and I know this is my job mentor, the way you become a quick study is by clearing your mind of clutter. If your mind is cluttered, you can't pick up information because you got something else sucking up space in your head. You got to free the space in your head so you could be a quick study. When I'm writing a book about history, I go and I study the history I'm writing about. I was a pilot for years, a private pilot, and I learned how to fly. So when I learned how to fly, I would take weekends off, and then I would go to the airport and learn how to do the plane maintenance. And I didn't get paid for it. I did it because I learned how to take the whole entire Cessna apart and put it back together. You got to be a quick study in the world with the internet. You got to know how to get information, appreciate what it is, cipher through the stupidity, and move on. That's the key to a businessman's success. They can read your business plan that's 60 pages, read through all of the fluff, and see what's important. And that's how you sustain that. You can't, and unfortunately, we're getting stuck because the internet is making us not want to research. It's making us lazy. You got the cell phone and Instagram, so you're not doing no research. So you're not exercising your mind. So you got to be able to go through information. You got to be able to have a discussion with somebody and hear what they're not saying as opposed to what they're trying to tell you. If you argue with your boyfriend or argue with your significant other or your wife or your girlfriend, you got to be able to listen to what they're really saying and what are they really trying to say that they're not conveying. What's really bothering them?
Right.
What are you really trying to tell me? You're telling me that you don't like the way I put my clothes on the floor. You're telling me you don't like the way I wash dishes. You're telling me this. What are you really telling me? Are you telling me you don't really like me? And sometimes you could argue with somebody for a week and they told you they didn't like you 2 months ago indirectly. You still stuck there because you didn't hear it.
So we were talking before you called in the opening of our break when I was dropping the knowledge on the evolution of house music about so much that was important about the success of the house music genre was also the music videos and the imagery. And of course, this was back when MTV was still influential and it wasn't just reality TV and actually made careers. And so, of course, one of our former guests and your good friend Darren DeWitt Henson choreographed a lot of your music videos. So talk to us a bit about the power and importance of visual imagery to go along with the music.
Well, I mean, we live in a visual society now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 40 years ago it wasn't as important because people weren't adapting to the visual medium. But as the society has changed the way it sees music, we don't just hear music, we see music. It's always been physical. Music has always been something to touch spiritually. But the video has made it so now you can literally see the interpretation. One of the best videos that's ever been made.
Right.
He's talking to you in almost in third person. Go to dance. on the floor, in the round, and as he heard, turns their eyes, did something to the people who are now watching him. So he's telling him, the visitor told me, I just remember the words all together, but he's speaking to you in the third person, really. He's not really speaking as it's him. That's the gene. And then in the video, if you look at the video, it's just him and this one girl, and it created this aura and this dynamic of this dark scenario that you would have never got. You needed the video to really, really understand. That's what really, that video really made Michael Jackson.
Mm.
That Billie Jean video was the video because remember, they did a victory video in the 70s.
Right.
But they did the Heartbreak Hotel video. But you didn't really see it because MTV wasn't the real medium then. But when Billie Jean came out in the early 80s, that's when you really got to see his genius. Michael Jackson would not. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And of course, Michael Jackson, and many people might not know this, but he was the first African American artist to be played on MTV.
Right. Right.
And so he broke down doors in so many ways.
Right. So, his true genius was his visual. That's what really catapulted. You got to see him moonwalk. You got to see him, suspended in air and lean. So the video was extremely helpful because it translates the music in a different form. You look at Gonna Make You Sweat. I mean, the video that we made. That same guy, Marcus Nisbel, had did the ICE Chaka Khan record. But because I was in the gym and because I was physical and I had this whole package of dancing and physicality, you could see it visually now. If you didn't have videos, you would have never known.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very important. And we live in a visual medium.
And of course, you were talking about a little bit ago about fashion and the suits and the hats and everything. But CNC Music Factory and its contemporaries really influenced fashion. I remember back in the 90s, like when Zelma was there in her bra top and the white blouse and the pearls and the wide belt, like everybody started wearing that. And when you were there without your shirt on and to tight, you'd see guys in the club just like that. And so all these artists like LaBouche and Technotronic, not only were they dominating on the charts, but they were also influencing mainstream fashion.
Right, absolutely.
So now, what is it most about creating and performing that you love the most?
That whole process of creating. Performing is a release. It's a breath of fresh air. I had a show this weekend with Salt-N-Pepa, Sugar Ray, Mark McGrath, myself, me, Salt-N-Pepa, Mark McGrath, and Vanilla Ice. And the audience was supposed to be outside. It was last weekend. And where was that show?
Chicago?
Not Florida. No, in Louisiana. In Lake Charles. And it was supposed to be outside, but it rained, and they brought them inside. And so now you had 3,000 people, 2,000 people that were supposed to be outside, inside, and it made a great atmosphere. And it was just electric, the energy in the air was electric. They were ready to go. They were ready to rock. They were just. It was a wonderful time. And when you have human beings are conductors of electricity.
Yes.
We are human electrical current. So when you put 3,000, 2,000, 4,000 people in a building, close the doors and make them jump up and down, that charge is incredible. It's like a giant generator. And so you can't replace that. That's just no matter, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you can do with that but just enjoy it.
Because at the end of the day, we are all conductors of energy, good, bad, positive, enlightening, empowering. It's a circle of energy.
Yeah.
And so much of performing is, the giving and receiving, and feeding off of the crowd.
Right. Exactly.
So now, of course, We're going to dive into this a little deeper after we take our musical break in a few minutes. And we're going to focus all on your work as a solo artist and all your great hits. But before we do, our show is all about empowerment as well and finding your voice. And I was going to ask you what was one of your most empowering moments, but I now know what that is probably. So, like, do. So, now, in Freedom's words, he is going to break the big story. Tell us about what's been going on for the past 20 years and the awesome announcement that you have to make.
You want me to tell you what's been going on in the past?
Well, what big news we just got on Tuesday, and the little bit of the backstory behind that.
You're talking about the trademark?
Yes.
Right. Well, I just got the trademark from CNC. It was a battle that I was going through with one of the members who tried to deem me not a member of CNC Music Factory, even though I was there from the beginning and made every record. And I was with these two guys making records before CNC. I was an engineer, so I was working with Kumo D and Cameo and EU, Spike Lee, Marcus Miller, and all these Todd Rundgren, all these artists I worked with. And it was an issue of I couldn't use the name CNC because he was saying that I'm not CNC, even though this person never toured, never went on the road, never did anything, stopped making records, got out of the business. Right. And I never stopped for 30 years. And so I trademarked the name, and he tried to say I couldn't do it, but the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark, said, well, he doesn't have a case. He failed to file all this paperwork, he failed to show up, he failed to do things. So he disparaged me on the internet, talked about me, and said you're not in CNC, you're stealing the name. And I never responded to him because my life is, I don't have to tell you who I am. I don't have to respond to you on Facebook and argue with you. You see me post videos every week of me being in front of 2,000 to 3,000 people. You see what I do. You can't post not one video because you've never been on the road. You never toured. You got out of the music business. So when the fans think of CNC, they think of me. They don't think of you.
No.
They don't even know who you are. And so I didn't say nothing. I let them just talk and post about me, and I kept it quiet. I just did my work and went along. And a trademark patent office issued me the trademark. So now I own the trademark, and I'm able to not be harassed. He was harassing my agent, sending them letters. You can't tour, you can't book him. He wanted me to pay him some of my tour money. Now I haven't seen this man's face in 25 years.
Wow.
So, and we haven't had a relationship in 25 years, in 30 years. So, I don't know what you're trying to do, buddy, but it didn't work. So it's a big deal that I was able to, I own the trademark now. It's a really, really big, and I'm also writing a book called Lip Sync, which is about this type of scenario.
Awesome.
I just have to finish it up. So
well, before we go over any farther, Freedom.
Thank you.
Yes!
Yes.
So here's to not giving up. Here's to walking your own path and your own truth. And just not giving up. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's important. Not giving up is really important. Going to, the race is not always to the swiftest, but to who he endures. And I think you said that to me the other day. So, and a lot of artists go through it. TKA went through it. Journey went through it. The Beach Boys went through it. The Platters went through it. The Jets went through it. In dance music, unfortunately, when you make these records, the producers want their name to be as prominent as the artist. You don't have that problem in hip-hop or in R&B. If Stevie Wonder produces a record for Stevie and Garrett, he doesn't say Stevie Wonder featuring Stevie and Garrett.
Right.
The problem with dance music is so many producers want their name on the record, and it confuses the public. You can't really build a strong public artist, you know, an artist name, an artist brand. The producer's gonna be behind the scenes, but you can't put your name out there on the record because the people don't know who they're getting.
Right.
And you confuse the brand, and brand awareness is important. So I was really glad I was awarded this because it gives other artists who have been through this hope that as you're going to tour and you're going to spend countless hours on an airplane, waking up at 4 a.m.
Away from your family, away from your loved ones.
Touring is not glamorous. It's not. It's hard work, you know, and you have to wake up. You have to be at meet and greets when you don't feel like it, when you have a headache, when you have the flu, when your loved ones are sick at home. And so, like you said, you're away from them. How can I build that brand if I'm building that brand to you? It doesn't work.
Well, I applaud you, and you're an inspiration to many. When we're gonna, if it's okay with you, because there's just so much to get in, and definitely want to spotlight your music. We're gonna go a little bit long today. All right. So, you know, before we go to the break, I just want to say, I said this to you before, but I want to say it publicly, that, you know, you, of all the people I've interviewed, that you're the first person, a celeb, that I've interviewed that really emotionally, like, was part of my coming up and my finding myself, and you really were a gateway to so many amazing artists that I carry through to this day and love and bring me joy. And it's very rare in life that you meet someone who exceeds your expectations of what you hope that they will be. So not only are you, like, as I said to you, the snapshot of cultural history, like I said, traveling vehicle of history that should always be respected and learned from, but you are just such a kind and gracious person. So I tell the whole world, Freedom Williams is the real article. He's the G. He is amazing. You haven't known his music, you're going to know it now and love it. And I'm proud to call you my friend. So, yes. So now we heard the original. So now we're going to hear the 25th anniversary version of Sweat. So, Lady C, take us to the break, and we're going to take about a 10-minute break, bring you some of my favorite Freedom Williams songs. You know, get your cup up, get pumping, and we will be back with more Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends on Take It to the Streets and London Energy Radio, bringing you the story and legacy of Freedom Williams and CNC Music Factory. Hi, Facebook. Go to all digital outlets and download Sweat OBK 25th anniversary. You're going to love this song as much as I do. I gotta get my dance on. Alright, this is some exclusive music you're hearing on Facebook. Can they be male strippers for you? so the ladies, at least the straight ladies, can relate. Exactly.
O-E with a gold straw, that's O-G. This club is nosy, clocking my every move. There goes that girl named Zoe, she got me in this groove. So
Okay, so we're gonna do, after this party time, we'll do Voice of Freedom, and then Freddie's Dead, and then we'll come back after Groove Your Mind, and then when we go to the after we close out, then we'll do Come On and Dance and Groove of Love. Sorry, hold on, let me come over to you. Hold on, Facebook, I'll be there.
Party time after?
Yeah, right after this, you're gonna play Party Time.
Okay.
And then after that, you're going to do Voice of Freedom.
Okay.
And then you're going to put Freddie's Dead.
Okay.
We got that just in time.
I'ma move this beat up. I'ma roll it up. We gon' make broke people sweat. I'ma move this party. I'm the grand finale. We gon' make broke people sweat.
Well, Lady Sue was ready for you. She thought you were coming in the studio. So she's got like 5 camera mounts here. It's like ABC Studios up in here. She's got her floodlights and everything. So,
You're in Philly, right?
yes. So I know it's a long distance for you, but I would be beyond ecstatic if you could make it to my launch party.
When is the launch one?
It's July 27th.
Okay.
So it's in like about 15 minutes outside of Philly in Glenside.
Okay.
So it's actually blowing up pretty big. I have like government people coming, and I got 6 and 10 coming, and so we have a whole bunch of beauty queens that are going to be talking about empowerment and all that stuff. We got some body art that we're going to be doing a human art gallery, and so we got some really exciting stuff happening with that. That is a surprise for the crowd.
Wow, that sounds nice.
Yeah, so like, I was talking to my buddy from Channel 6 ABC, and he's like, oh, well, who came up with that? Because I told him because he's press, And he's like, Laura, who came up with all of that? I said, me. And he's like, right. He's like, you thought of all that? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, who's planning it? I'm like, me. And he's like, on top of your show and everything else you do? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if you want it done right and impactful, you got to do it yourself.
Right. I'll find some really, really good people, which is expensive and hard to do.
Exactly, and I have to talk about being blessed, which I'm sharing all over my page. But for a little things here and there, every aspect of it is being sponsored. And just people in my network and that believe in me and they're celebrating me and how things are evolving, because you don't get anywhere and bring a vision to life without people helping you.
That's true. That's very, very true.
So, I got this amazing mixologist that's, and this good friends of mine from Kiki Vodka. It's a vodka company here in this area. They manufacture here. So they're going to be providing complimentary cocktails. And
Wow.
yeah, like free cocktails. And then I have this great DJ from Harrisburg who actually works with Angie Stone and some other top talent that's coming all the way to Harrisburg, from Harrisburg, to sponsor and DJ my event. So it's just, I posted for models for a little fashion vignette we're doing. I have models from Canada, from Florida, from Boston, all wanting to come and be part of it. So that's an amazing feeling when people are behind you where they're going to travel from wherever just to support you.
Yeah. And you do what you do well. I can see from your profile knowing you that you're really good with people and your energy is great. So people are going to always want to support you more because
thank you. I mean, that means more to me than I can say.
Yes, I can see that. I can definitely see you doing what you want to do. It's dope. Being your friend now and watching you is joy.
Well, I just want to inspire people. I want to, do my part to make a dent in the things that are wrong in this world, and try and swerve things in the direction of right, and open up people's minds like you, enlighten people, and help them find their best self.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we all have our doubts and people trying to, push us away from what we want to do or be. But finding the courage to just go for it is the first step in reaching anything in life.
Right, it is.
Oh, hey Tracy. So I'm gonna put the phone up to my Facebook Live. So if you want to say hello Facebook Live, I have my sensational friend Freedom Williams here on the phone. So if anyone out there listening here, say hello to the feed, Freedom.
Hey, what up, y'all? What's good? Who's this, DC?
This is, let's see. I got Marlene Crosby on here.
What's up, Marlene?
I got my fabulous hair sponsor, Andrea Tamaris.
Andrea.
I got Jessica Ruiz from Dream Artistry Makeup.
Wow, Jessica.
And let's see, we got Kenya Smith.
Is that the photographer, Kenya Smith?
Yes.
That's my brother. What up, King?
And we got Tracy Lopez on the feed.
Okay.
All right, let's see who else we got up in here. Let's see, Mina Stampa, Mina, okay, from Greece. I can never say her last name. And Betty Perez. So you are on live with Freedom Williams. So now in my vision, you know how on Facebook Live it allows you, if the people have the camera app to do it, to bring them on camera. So I'm like, I wanted to get a whole bunch of people on so we could all be jamming together.
Right. So, I'm dropping a new single on the 13th, another version of that Sweat.
Okay.
I don't know if did Sheila sing you that BT version?
I don't think she did.
Oh wow, you should text her while you're on the phone and have her forward it to you.
I think that was the one that she said that got put. Yeah, she did. She said something about Sony said not to play it yet because something with the marketing and the imagery and whatever. So that's why I did.
Okay.
But when it gets cleared, I'm your forever platform. So just shoot it my way, and it's all good. And you don't even have to really ask. Just say, yo, here it is. Whatever you got popping, I'm always your cheerleader and platform.
Word up.
All right. So what song are we on now? What song are we on now?
We on Voice of Freedom.
Okay, we're on Voice of Freedom. All right. I pulled up all the gems, my friend.
Hold on.
Move your mind on there.
Okay, River Mind's on there. Hey, we're grooving your mind out there.
I made that with the Family Stand. You know the Family Stand?
Yes.
Ghetto Heaven?
Yes.
That's Sandra singing on that record. Sandra plays Victim.
Okay. Your music just makes me so happy.
Oh.
I'm like, nothing's bothering me today.
Right.
So later this weekend, because with everything with the launch and this and that, I'm jammed. But I'm gonna shoot you some additional questions, just for you to shoot me answers to regarding the patent and the journey of that, and then I'll swirl that together and get that into an article with the other stuff we talked about, and make that the official, you and your story, and the first print article, and break that for you.
Right.
Again, I'm honored really to be the person to share it, and just like you were talking, that you have a responsibility. Well, as a journalist, as a broadcaster, when it comes to anything I do, but especially something like this where I'm sharing somebody's journey, their struggle, their fight, and their victory. That really is an honor and a responsibility that I take very seriously. So thank you for trusting me with your story.
And not to be, the timing is right too. Meeting you, at this time, that meeting someone who's interested and qualified to help you along that path. I think it's everything for a reason.
Yes. And I mean, it really truly was fate that it happened the day before you were supposed to be on my show.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then we could tell it right together.
We're going to talk about the Tigers today.
Yes. So when we come back up, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, your construction. We'll talk about, advice and things like that. And then when I go into the closeout, I'm going to have you give the inspirational thoughts of the day. And, I'll ask where to find you on social media and all that good jazz.
Okay.
You want to cut evidence?
Let's do, you could fade into Freddie's Dead. And then we'll come back up after Freddie's Dead.
Freddie?
Yeah, that's the one I emailed you. I forwarded it to you.
Oh, it didn't come.
I didn't.
I got a message, but no download.
Okay, hold on. Let me go into my email. All right, hold on, Facebook Live. I gotta dip into my email. Just hold tight.